the way I thought we would do it today, because we've also got brushes as well as flowers, is to get you started, because you're going to need a bit of drying time, and I know that's always frustrating.
I've done that already, because you told me to.
So if you've got something done, that's already. But the first thing to do really is to, before you even put pencil to paper, is to think a little bit, because from what most of you have done, you've shared a flower or a bunch that you've done before, and there's a bit of a commonality that came through there, which is you've painted exactly as expected, you've painted the flower, but what you will find very difficult is putting in the background behind it. Okay, so before you even start off, one of the things you probably need to consider is how you're going to construct your picture. So there are a number of ways that you could do that, and I'm just going to take you through a few examples. All right, now again, can you
Eileen,
yeah?
Eileen, you've missed your calling. You are so good at doing this.
Oh, there we go. Right, just to think about it, I've just got something in my hand. Let's assume that's a flower. Well, why not take a real flower? Right, here's a rose, okay? And if this was big size paper, well, you could do it on big size paper. Turn it over. Right, there's a different shape. There's another thing you can think about, shapes of paper. Right, there's a rose. I could plonk it slap bang like that, okay, which is very attractive, all right, but it might not be the ultimate look that you want. So always think, if you've got a particular flower you want to consider painting, whether maybe you could have a series of them, in this case growing up the page. You also want to consider whether you want things going off the page, because that gives a little bit of interest, okay. And when you've decided on a layout, you then need to think about background. Now, where I was a second ago, I've got here 4 very, very, very quick. I'm just going to do it in black outlines so that you get a view of what I'm talking about. One of my favourite plants, whoops, she says, trying to...
Eileen, have you got a second thing that we... looking at your demonstration, because I can just see you rather than what you're doing?
Yes, there's a second Eileen up there, Eileen phone.
But there is 2 of Eileen up there.
Have you
it? It's got, it's like a big white panel she's got at the moment.
Now I've got it. Thank you.
You've got it. Okay. Yes, blank piece of paper at the minute. I'm just going to show some layouts that work quite well. I'm not just slap bang in the middle of the paper, although that looks very attractive and it will work. All right. But this is just some thoughts. This one. Okay. Could be like the foxglove, or I think originally I was thinking it was going to be hollyhocks. Okay, but can you see what I've done is I've left a fair old gap here, and I've run the plant from the bottom of the page, so that's the edge of my masking tape, there and there, and I've run it right the way through the picture, and I've also taken the shape because it is wide and getting narrower. So that's about your design and your, you know, thinking about layout. Another one that works particularly well with, say, chrysanthemums might be, you have to forgive my chrysanthemum lookalikes. They're just sort of a range of petals that grow inwards in my imagination. Okay, but what we're getting is an overlap that are building up from one side of the sheet to the other. So let's put them like that. So again, now you're using a diagonal approach. Some uniformity. So I'd have all the petals facing a center point about there. Okay. And then behind it, you'll have the foliage, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So that's 2 different layouts. This one is one that worked really well. People love drawing orchids, okay? So if you think about an orchid pot, all right, and you add your stem, okay, there you've got some orchids, and then you'd have some orchid leaves and some viney sort of their roots. Okay, so you're getting this time you're following a circle for your design. All right, and then this one, courtesy of Rita, because she does this a lot. She's got a lovely horizon, which we've learned all about at various times, and then she's got maybe these could be pansies. They could be not pansies. The other one, poppies. Buttercups.
Oh, buttercups.
Ones at the front, okay, and that's okay. And then you've got the mid-distance, and then you've got whatever you want in your background. So you're all going to be drawing beautiful flowers or painting beautiful flowers, but just think about what happens when you place it.
You didn't paint
Are you happy to draw out something, a design with your flower, your chosen flowers? Are you going to do that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I'd say about 5 minutes at the most. All you want is some indicators, and then the process will be that if you're going to use masking tape or masking fluid, I'd like you to mask those flowers. Okay, so remember with there was a video tube about masking.
Yeah, it was lovely, that video. I wanted to watch part 2 of it, or part.
All right. My masking fluid, I have discovered that you can water it down a little bit when it gets older, and it still works.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's
Just
what I was
water,
doing.
Eileen.
It
Just
smells
water.
horrendous though. So mine, I don't know what date it was, but a real honker. So I'm going to use masking fluid, but don't forget you can use your ordinary tape by tearing strips and just gently putting it round. So it would be ideal if you could mask the stem, the outside of your flower, and you're putting leaves in, right? Then what we'll be doing is we'll work on the background first and then work on the flower.
Okay.
All right, you get a quick hit that way. You can do it the other way around, but this will be easier on you. So go for it, and then when you're about 5 minutes in, because I'm going to be doing it at the same time as you, I'm going to say, okay, have a little break and listen to something about brushes, and then I'll take you through how to use some different brushes, because a couple of people asked for that, Lydia in particular. Is that all right?
Yeah.
You happy?
Even from that masking tape, I think you told me before, Eileen, is to cover your paintbrush you're using with soap.
You can, yes, and that makes it a lot easier to get
Yeah.
masking fluid off afterwards. And do have your, if you're using masking fluid, do have your water jug very close by, because keep it wet, and that again stops it getting too thick and too yucky. Okay. Mary, have you got masking tape, or have you got, because some of you might choose not to use anything to mask. Okay.
Eileen, a question, please.
Yes.
I should have done the masking fluid before I wet my paper, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Okay, answer is yes, but if you let your paper dry completely, you can still.
That was my one bit
Because
of
if you have painted,
paper.
yeah, if you have painted on the paper, okay, if you painted on the paper, when you put your masking fluid on, you must make sure your paint is dry, otherwise it will peel it off. And Rita, do you know last week you said, oh, I'm pulling off the masking tape and the paper. I have
Yeah.
a feeling your paper
Paper
and
was
paint
wet.
weren't dry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Final option, if you haven't got masking tape, etc., or you didn't want to use it for some reason, don't forget the good old candle.
Good old
Now,
what?
it would work.
Oh,
very
candle.
well. Yep, candle.
Oh, what you
sorry.
Candle.
Yeah, you could work. You could put some highlights in on there. If you know the light is going to be hitting Mary, your rose, for example, yeah, they're around the top of the petals.
Yeah.
You might find that light is hitting that. You might want to keep that clear. The downside with the wax thing is that when it comes to taking it off, you can't. Masking fluid you can peel off, the wax you can't. I have seen a couple of people.
Couldn't you iron it off, Max?
Take the wax using an iron by iron on the back, okay, but it still leaves a slight residue, so you'll never get it back as well as with masking fluid. Okay. Right, I'm going to sketch out, and 5 minutes. Right, it's 5 minutes, and then we'll go on to back. I better put my flower back in the flower arrangement and see what happens.
The other thing from that video, it was not to shake the fluid, just tip it gently.
Correct, and the reason
Avoid
being,
bubbles. That one I hadn't. That one I thought was very useful. Because I always give everything a good shake.
and in fact, Kathleen, can you do me a favour after we finished?
Yeah.
Or someone? I don't know what I did with that, and I tried to find it on YouTube again, and I couldn't, and I can't find the link.
I'll send it back to you. Yeah.
Yes, please.
It said it was either part 1 or part 2. It sounded like there were 2 parts. It's just one of them. And I can't remember, what was the other one? I like the one about the fluid.
Yeah.
But there was 2. What was the other one? Remind me.
Wax or tape?
Well, I don't know. I will look again. I haven't got rid of them yet.
Okay.
Right, so we'll just put masking tape on. Not masking tape, fluid on. Yeah.
And remember, if you want, you can water it down a little bit, which is nice to know.
Who's got all the birds tweeting?
Me?
Ooh.
In urban Gloucester.
So you put soap
Yeah,
on your brush
wow.
before the masking fluid?
Yes,
Yes.
soak it up.
And it has worked wonderfully well. And I knew that, so I mean, because I think when Eileen first introduced me to masking fluid, when, you know, a long time ago, and it's just worked lovely. It's all come off my paintbrush.
Oh, bloody hell.
Sorry, I've got a hornet.
I think I'm going to clear my tablet. It's very greasy.
Your tablet. Oh, here's a hint. When you're painting, especially with acrylics, put your phone or your tablet into a plastic bag or wrap it in cling film before you start.
It's very useful.
Yeah, that saved a few nasties. Oh, there's
I've had to scrape it off before now.
It does smell horrible.
It does, doesn't it? It's wow.
Depends how old it is, I suppose.
Yeah,
Mine's
well, I
quite
think
new,
mine
this
must
one.
be about 20. It's coming up for an anniversary soon. Well, I think the one I've got is just for. No, that's for nests, that is. Oh, right, okay. But I've got range. Yeah. Where is there? Oh, it's on the window.
Oh, excitement.
Oh, it's a big one. That is a big one, Stephen.
What have you got?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, right.
There it is. That was excitement.
Thank you. You're so brave.
Yeah, I used to speckle them.
What have we captured?
It was a hornet.
Oh,
wow.
wow. That was brave. Megan, every so often you're going to have to give us a tip from the YouTube as well.
Yeah. And certainly say, oh, they don't do it that way, they do it this other way, because there will be lots of different ways of approaching these things.
This looks like a very detailed, delicate drawing you're doing, Eileen.
That's my problem. You're quite right, Rita. I do get carried away with the detail.
No, it's fantastic. It'd be a fantastic detailed pencil drawing.
Finish this off in.
Are you doing all of that so you can put masking tape on?
A fair
Masking
bit of
fluid.
masking fluid. All right.
I've just got 3 big blobs.
Okay. Well, it's because I want to show a couple of
different things.
Techniques. She's being a teacher.
again. She likes it.
I think she ought to have been a teacher because she's very organised the way she does it, aren't you, Eileen?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I'm very organised.
But she's also a fantastic project manager and everything else, and that all takes all of
and
this.
it's
It's not
yeah.
just teacher. But Eileen, I want your advice as a fantastic person. Do you see this funny one? Do you remember that one from
Yes.
from thingy? It's quite.
Yes.
It's got. The flowers are actually black, so obviously I can just paint them over if I do it in acrylic. So there's nothing really. If I do acrylic, there's nothing to mask, is there?
No,
No, you don't use masking tape with masking with acrylic unless you want to do texture. I'm trying to do texture on mine today.
Yeah.
So doing texture, painting over texture is harder.
Yeah. If you're doing acrylics like watercolor, you can use masking the same way as in ordinary watercolor, but it's a lot easier. You don't have as much correction to do, or you can overpaint, so it's a lot easier.
You can overpaint with white.
It's
That's
so
the other one.
complex, though. I'd have to draw the whole thing out to do that, wouldn't I?
Are you going to do it in acrylic?
I don't know. I'm tempted to see what I can do in watercolor. It would just be
You-
like Matisse or something,
Yeah.
Monet
You
or
would
something.
You could do sort of a bit like we're going to do today. You
Yeah.
put down a background wash, all right, then you would mask it with all the detail of the veins of the stems and the
Yeah.
flower heads, okay?
And then this looks like popcorn, and that's got white on it. So if I'm watercoloring, I'll have to do it. Otherwise, I could white over.
yeah, and remember, you in your style as well, you often use the oil pastel at the end to bring up the white,
Yeah.
so that's good.
Anyway, I'm trying 2 at a time now today.
Okay, me, I'm rushing on to get me masking fluid on.
Oh yeah, sorry, I distracted you.
All right, no, that's okay. I was forgetting that I'd said I was masking fluid on. And I'm going to water it down a weeny bit, just to prove to you that it can, using the cap of my masking fluid bottle for this, because I've got to get out the and I know particularly where I want the light to hit on my rose. So I'm masking off some bits of it. Those flowers.
gone all quiet.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
no.
Poppy leaves are like ferns.
Yeah. Fractals.
Yeah.
They're fractals. They follow the Fibonacci sequence.
That's the
Spiral.
mathematician coming out.
I use that in hypnosis as well, because it's the natural sequence, isn't it? You ask someone to count
Yeah.
from 1, 1,
What's
2,
that?
3, 5, 8,
That's it.
13. And then I say, and on, because I can't do the
That's
sums.
the way to do it.
Oh yeah, when you've got white stems, that's a good idea. Or maybe I'll just paint some flout leaves in them, just for fun of it.
Oh, come on, I was being so... Oh, there it is. Yeah, I knew I was organised.
Oh, it does come off perfectly with the washing up liquid. That's very good.
You're already taking it off, Rita?
Have you got off my paintbrush? I put my paintbrush in water afterwards and it's just clean. But now I have to put it on again because it's actually not.
Right. How are you doing getting covered up?
I probably only half listened. Was I meant to put soap on the brush before I put it in the masking?
Yeah, and put the soap in between the bristles as well. Give it a good soaking, you know, through and through.
Okay. And then I just put it in my thingy.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
Yep.
Oh, here am I advising the artist.
Very good.
Very good.
Yeah, I like that because that's.
We're a learning group.
Well, it is nice that you can actually watch these and actually pick up a good tip. I'm learning loads because of, you know, thinking, oh, right, what am I not going to forget to tell them about brushes, for example? And I learned things I certainly was not aware of. So,
Do you know what I've learned? I've learned pencils are quite nice. I always poo-pooed them like they were for children and not real
yeah.
art things.
Well, you know your wax oils and what I used to call crayons?
Yeah.
Same. I would never have gone near a crayon before.
Yeah.
But actually...
Now, I find them really hard to use. They don't do what I want them to do. Yeah.
But if you use them as a paint block, they're they do give you lovely vivid colours.
They do crayons, like Corella crayons, that are sort of like pencils, you know, so they've got a smaller top.
Yeah, I've got some.
Okay.
But they're like wax crayons. See, wax crayons, if it's not water soluble, they don't mix or blend. So you need the water soluble ones. Yeah.
Yeah. The ones I've got are oil based, so they won't blend.
I know. So, well, wasn't it someone? It's these, isn't it? They're called Neo Colour. It was someone at that exhibition we did. You remember that really enthusiastic young girl who wanted to talk to all of us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the one who introduced us. She was just wild about these things that I'd never heard of, and they are good.
Okay. You get masking tape fatigue after a while. Although, again, from that tape, I noticed that they use an awful lot more masking tape on their examples than I tended to use. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just need to go up this side. And I did want to look up, but I haven't got round to it yet, can you make your own masking fluid? Okay. Because
Does it give
you
the
can make your own
ingredients?
yeso, right? But
It
can you
lasts
make,
a long time, doesn't it, the masking thing, especially if you do this.
Yeah. So you might not need to get too much of it. But when, you know, like when we've been in lockdown and it's not easy to get out to then their shops.
It doesn't even have the ingredients on mine. So it's obviously
I
not
know, but-
edible or sold to be edible.
Oh, salt, yeah, salt.
No,
works.
no, I said it didn't have the ingredients, and I was assuming it didn't have the ingredients because it wasn't an edible product.
I don't know, but I really have no clues as to what they would suggest. Right. Well, I'm glad to say I finished that little bit.
You could
So-
use string. Oh no, that would be absorbent. Elastic bands you could put down. I mean, you could just cut out a stencil, but you'd have to
Yeah.
tape it down still, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
We did that, didn't we? One on the black and white one, the black and skylight ones.
The
Yeah, so
nighttime one.
provided you don't leave a residue on the paper. I mean, I quite like tearing out shapes out of the masking tape.
We know.
I can see where I've put it in, and it feels a bit sculptural. Okay, well, you can see I'm letting mine dry away. While you carry on, are you happy if I talk to you about brushes now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was only
Yeah.
doing some other, because I wasn't doing much.
Okay, let me just throw you a
There we are.
second.
Rita, is your fluid going on nice and smoothly now?
My next one, I haven't. Then I decided to get the pencils out, so I've still got the paintbrush in hand, ready to do it. I can't see what I really want to make white yet, because there isn't
Right.
much white in the picture.
It doesn't have to be white. It's sharp edge. It's so you get the sharp contrast of whatever you're doing.
Oh,
Well, I don't know. That's what.
no, that sounded good. What you said, Kathleen, sounded very knowledgeable.
Well, like the edge of a leaf, you want that really sharp, don't you? Because they are.
Well, and then you peel it off and then colour in where you've taken the peel off.
I'll start it later.
Well, you do it later. You do it in stages. Now that you've got me going back to pictures.
Right.
Oh, I liked the way you'd finished that. It's lovely.
It's not. No, I did a bit more, and it's not as nice now. See, I overdid it. But no, it
That's
was
okay.
interesting. Next time, I might take a picture and then take another picture as I go along. Like you.
Yeah,
lot.
it's a good thing to do that. It shows the development.
Right, I need some colour.
Developments
You
of-
can make a really cute little GIF out of it.
Yeah.
Just do all the photos one after another.
Right, for those of you who are watching, up in the top there, I've got a little thing done in wax, just to remind you. Can you see that? Up there?
Yeah.
I can't see that at all.
Okay.
Well, that's good. It says brushes. So what was the wax bit, Eileen? Can you see it now, Lydia?
No.
Have you
Hang
pinned
on.
Eileen's screen?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I can only see Eileen and myself.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So you've got the wrong screen pinned. So unpin Eileen from the middle,
Yeah.
and you'll find her again. Eileen, could you focus on brushes again?
Yeah. Yeah. I just need the other hand for that.
Right.
And
you
she's
should be
called
able-
Eileen Phone. It's the Eileen Phone
I haven't got
screen.
Eileen phone. No, I've only got Eileen via laptop.
So can you go into gallery view?
Yeah, that's what I'm in.
And you're only
Slide
seeing two?
along. Slide along.
Slide
I'm
along the bottom.
I'm seeing two of Francis
Yeah.
and
How many people
one
in
of
total do you see?
Eileen.
It
It might
People,
be-
8.
Right. So there's more screens than that open.
Are there?
So along the bottom, you should be able to move to the next set of screens.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. I scrolled across. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's lovely.
And then
Thank you.
you can pin her.
That's it. Have a pin.
That's great. Thank you.
I
Go for it.
can't. I'm doing the same boat. I'm not getting there, Eileen.
Right.
Okay,
What are you on, Megan?
No, it's
June.
It's June.
It's June.
Yeah.
Oh, June. What are you on? A computer, a phone, or an iPad, or a tablet?
Laptop.
Computer.
Right. On the computer, Rita, you're on the computer. How do you get all the...
You do gallery view and then pin Eileen's telephone.
Have you got a gallery view top right, June? If you
I've
move
got-
your cursor.
Full screen or speaker view.
No,
Okay, so you want
want
to be full screen.
Yeah.
And then where it says speaker view, if you click on that, it should give you an option for gallery view.
Speaker view.
If you click on where it says speaker view, if you click on the word speaker view, it will flick to gallery.
I've got gallery view, yeah.
Okay, then find the one that Eileen's brushes is on, called Eileen's phone.
Eileen.
And it's just,
Eileen's phone, yeah.
okay, and then go into the 3 little white dots on the blue panel, top right of that square. When you put your cursor towards the top, you can see 3 little white dots.
Ah, now I've gone
Yeah.
in there. Oh, it's come up to
Have
me.
you got, okay, can you get back to where you were on gallery view by clicking on,
Yeah, full view, speaker view,
click on speaker view and go back to gallery.
right?
Now
Gallery.
you can see them all again, and then just put your cursor over Eileen's phone one.
Eileen's laptop. Ah,
Have you got, there's 10 screens.
1,
Are you
2,
seeing them all?
5, 6, no, 7.
Okay, so then you need to scroll somehow or another.
Right.
But you're in full screen, aren't you? I'm
Yeah.
surprised you're not seeing them all.
Eileen's laptop again.
I might have worked out another way of doing this, actually. I know you can't. Oh. You found it before, though, didn't you?
Eileen's
Have you?
No, I didn't. That's what.
Okay, so you haven't. You've only got 4 screens on view, or 6.
I've got 6.
Okay.
Not Eileen's phone.
So who's on a laptop? Who only gets? I've got all 10 on my
I've
laptop.
got a laptop
I've got 10.
and I got everything. Hang on, let me do it. I went on gallery to start with, and then I got 1, 2, 4. I've got 10. So on gallery,
No, June doesn't have the 10. We
got
need to know
It
how
might
to
be
get.
on speaker view.
I've got 10 now. Right.
You've got 10. Okay, so one of them, which is Eileen's, just looks like a white page with a little bit of orange on the top. But if she moves it around, we're hands in it.
Got it.
Okay, so now if you go near that screen, 3 little white dots on a blue little panel should come up.
on the right-hand corner of that particular one.
Top right hand corner of that frame that Eileen's hand isn't in anymore.
I've got it because every time someone speaks, it won't let me go near that.
All right, you're not on gallery view then.
Oh, right.
Or we can just shut up. Can you see Eileen's screen?
I've got gallery view, and then when I've got gallery view, I can't see you all.
No, you're not on gallery view then.
Right.
You're on speaker view.
Full screen.
Oh, damn you. That's it. No, well, let me go on it. I can see a hand. Got my
Okay.
You'll be seeing it small.
I need a new one, don't I?
We'll just watch it. We'll stay on the view you're on. At least you can see
Yeah,
it small, and we'll work out.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, carry on. They'd be gone otherwise.
I can share. Can I? No.
You could.
No,
I
she
don't know if
can't.
I
Because
can.
it's
I don't know
not-
if it
not
shares.
sharing, from the app. It's actually sharing one of the screens that's live. I don't think you can.
I'll have a go though. Anyway, carry on, and we'll have a go if we can.
Yeah.
We can.
Right. Well, first of all, things you already know about brushes. That's a flat brush. That's a flat brush. That's a flat brush. Okay. Basically, one of your key brushes is the flat head brush. Okay. Which is very important because when we've used it so far, we've used it to wet the paper quite thoroughly. Okay, so that's one that I would put in my toolkit. And what I'm going to do first of all is take you through some of the basic toolkit brushes, and then I'm going to give you an insight into some of the other specialist brushes, etc. Okay, so number one, find it could be a decorator's brush. They work very well for the flat work, and if you're working on large pieces of paper, wonderful stuff. But then, you know, this is
cheaper than buying an artist's one.
Yeah. And the artist, this is more of an artist one, this brown one, okay? Whereas this one is just a funny one. And I think if anybody saw my attempt at the first seascape thing, I used just an ordinary house brush, a painter's brush, you know, for doing the decorating the doors and things. So number one, flat brush, because they're where you start most often by wetting your paper with watercolour. Second up though is a more common brush. The most common of all brushes is, it looks a bit like this. Okay, it's a round tip brush, and it is what it says. If I can do me left, right, there.
That's it.
That's it in close up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the round tip that you can see coming in focus there now. And what I'm going to do with each of these, I'm going to show you how you would work out what brush to use. And basically, just do a series of lines. What you really want to find out from the brush is how thin can you paint the lines, first off. Then you want to know how much water does it carry. So just a downward stroke, and you can see whether the bristles of the brush, whether they actually hold a lot of water or not. So in terms of coverage, that's okay. But if I move the camera over a little bit there, you might be able to see that the lining is quite, with the tip of the brush, you can get, and if you've actually shaped your brush on the corner of your paper here, I've got quite a nice tip, so I am able to do some relatively fine lines. Okay. Other shapes that you might want to try, well, to see how it copes with corners. So for example, when you're painting flowers later, you might want to try starting light at one end and spreading out your bristles as you go around and bringing your brush off the paper there, so that you get the shape of a petal. Okay. And as we look at different brushes, you'll see that that has different effects. All right. So that's a round brush. The other thing to say about round brushes is, okay, that particular brush I had in my toolkit when I very first started, and I loved it. It could do anything for me. It's the most common brush purchased, and it's the most common brush used. All right. And in shape of my fingernail.
What size is it?
I don't know. What
Size.
This one says it's a size 5, but what you need to know about paintbrush sizes is each make has their own size. So this next one I'll hold up to the camera. This one is meant to be a 24, but this one is also a 24, and they're completely different sizes. Okay, so once you know the paintbrushes that you like best, the make, you know, you can work it out. Predominantly though, small number, small size bristles and brush, big numbers, bigger and flatter. That's your rule of thumb. Okay, but you can get ones that are like that ginormous size, and they'd still call it a 16 in some makes. And that is, you know, if I put my finger next to that, you can have a difference in size.
Are you able to put them on your other screen eye?
Yep, I can do it that way.
Brilliant. A little bit to the right. Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Okay, and here's
what size was that one? Oh, yeah.
This one says it's a 24.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can have a 16 in a different make that would be the same size as that. Okay.
Brilliant.
So watch out. Here are two 24s together, different makes, but you can see the variation in size. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But the interesting thing is that's also called a round brush. Reason it's called a round brush is that in any brush, you've got some important parts. Obviously, you've got the handle, you've got the ferrule, which is the metal bit that holds it in, and then you've got, in this case, in the bristles, a bit that's called the belly or the water reservoir, which is the rounded bit in the centre. And even though it's called a round tip brush, it does come to a beautiful fine point.
Yeah.
Okay, so so that's lovely. And yeah, I know that Francis, myself, and probably Rita as well.
Yeah.
If I show you how you can make strokes with that one, this is again using this, the smaller of the 24s. Let's use a slightly different colour. Can I do fine lines in this? That's a good question.
Yeah. You can do anything you want with that.
You can do anything you want. Nice fine lines, still as fine as the other brush. But when it comes to filling in the, I'm just going to move the camera over slightly so that you can see that side of the page.
Perfect.
When it comes to filling in, you get, because there's so much more water in the bristles, you can get a really nice flood of colour in there. Yeah, nice, thick, heavy, plenty of water. I've still got water in the brush. I could paint another stroke as well. So I might try a squidgy one. And there I can get a fine edge, a big belly in the middle, and then up to a fine edge again. Okay?
But it contains so much water. It retains it.
It's lovely, yeah. So again,
can I just check? I think you said it, but just in case I miss it, even though that's got the fine point and the other round one you showed us didn't, they're both just called a round brush.
Round brushes, yes.
Right. So we just need to. There's a brown brush with a tip or without.
Yes. In fact, this is a smaller round brush. If I can, this is a smaller round brush. Normally, the first one I showed you is a classic shape that you will find for round brushes. Sorry, I have to work out which way round this lens is there. Okay. There. First, it doesn't focus very well, does it, on that closer view? It is round when you look at it, but when you wet it, if it's still a good quality brush, so this is a smaller version of it, it will still come up to a point. It will look round when it's dry. When you wet it, it will come to a point. Okay? And they go down. I've showed you the big ones. They go right the way down. This is just out of my still usable round head brushes. I'm just putting them flat on the paper now.
Yeah.
You know, they go to tiny. You can hardly see it in there. You know, they really are small, some of them. But do I need it? That's the question. No, I don't. If I can do really fine lines with either the original round head that I used or the big fat floppy one, why do I need all these little ones? I use them once in a blue moon. They're there. They come in lots. When you buy a set of brushes, you'll quite often get some really small ones. They come in useful from time to time, but I predominantly don't use them. I've now gone over to mainly using the big fat brush. So that was the second brush. The third brush that you'll get, Rita showed us last week. I don't know whether you've got it to hand, Rita. Have you got your mop?
Not this tickly one.
No. The one that we said was looking like, no, that's a fan brush. The one that we said looked like a makeup brush.
That one.
Brush.
Yeah. That's really big at the top. I don't have one of them, but that is technically a mop brush. And again, you can tell that because the bristles, there's so much bristle there, and you know the belly, when it soaks up the water, it gets really flooded with water. So for doing washes, it's great.
I'm doing a wash now. I'm going to use it. Thanks.
You can use it.
I've used this brush before. Yeah. I just acquired it somewhere.
But that's what you would use it for. It's a little bit more delicate. It carries a bit more water than the flathead brush.
Okay.
And now I'm telling you, I learnt that on YouTube this week because I've not got a mop brush, and that's what it's about.
Thank you.
So I learned too. All right then. Next one on the toolkit then would be, oh, excuse me, the communal garden. We have the big flat brush, okay, but the next one is the small flat brush, okay. Just cut straight across the top. And for that, the reason you might like to use that one, again, is to do with this, the sort of style. You can get, in this case, it's slightly firmer lines. So if you're using them lightly, but with enough paint on, with most brushes, you can get a nice straight line, all right? With this one, you can also do things like that, though. By dragging it along, you can get thick, thin, thick, thin, thick, thin. Nice.
We're talking just about watercolour here, Eileen, or is the same true for acrylic?
It would stay true for acrylics as well, and oils. Okay, so you can think about that. The other one that this does, though, the flathead brush, obviously, is the flat stroke. Okay, and the, you know, if you're doing cross hatching of any type, that comes out really well. Okay, and you know, the S shape obviously does very well.
Or
That
if you
would
were
be how
doing,
you tend to use the flathead brush. Again, big or small.
if you were doing a mast of a ship, Eileen.
If I was doing the mast of a ship, I would use this because I find it very easy to control. But do you see what I'm doing? I'm leaving gaps.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I find it really nice for doing straight lines that you don't want to be solid, but you can actually control it quite easily.
I think that's easier, and Frances is right. You can actually see it as you and feel it. You can feel the straightness of it as it goes down. Okay. Another way of using a flathead brush is just to, I'm just trying to pick up a colour that may or may not show up on the screen, so I better add another one to it. Okay. You could put colour, I think I've mixed these up now while I was doing it. Let's see what happens when I put that on. Okay, I'll clean my brush and do that again for you. You can put colour, two different colours, one on one side and one on the other side. Okay, one on each corner. All right, and then.
Oh, that's clever.
This is great for flowers as
That's
well,
lovely.
petals.
And so if you were doing a mast and you wanted two sides, you know, you could get it by using the one brush, but two colours in there. All right.
Eileen,
so
could you just show us you applying that? Is it possible to put your paint in the middle there? So you can show us what you did with the tip and the side.
Oh, certainly. Yep. Here we go. There's my rather murky thing.
Yeah.
I've just seen my brush again. I've picked up cadmium yellow on one corner. Okay, and I've picked up this orange another.
Brilliant. Thank you.
I obviously didn't have enough water on it. And there you go. Okay.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Ribbon.
You can make, you know, it's as much about making marks as it is about other things. But to me, I could almost turn that now into, I don't know, some dropping flower with light at the top and dark at the bottom. Okay, so flat brushes, you must have a flat brush, right? A variation on the flat brush, okay. You have actually now covered all the basic brushes that I use, by the way, okay? Big flat, lockhead, flat. They're my go-to brushes all the time, all right? But next up is something that looks like a flathead brush, but it's called an angled flathead brush. And it literally has been cut.
Well, I don't think I've got one of them. I want one. I don't know if I want one yet. You better show me what it does.
Right, well, we put some water in there and we'll go for a blue this time and just see whether you can get any different effects. Again, if be a straight line. Now this one I like because if I'm using just this very tip here, I can get, if I'm, watch what I'm doing, I can get a line that is so thin you probably don't even see it. It's almost like one hair. You can't see that, can you?
Is that better than a rigger then? Like, or is a good rigger to 0 or something?
This is, I would call this very, very, very controlled. All right. I've just darkened it a bit and I'm going a little bit heavier, but it's a lot thinner than the one up here. It is controlled. If I want to do a curve, it's okay, but it's quite firm. When we get to look at the rigger, it flicks a bit more, so it's a bit more of a
okay.
stroke.
So it might even be better for the straighter lines, do you think? Sometimes.
Yes, you can use different ones for different things, right? If I was doing a downward stroke, again, that's just a bit more colour on one side than the other. If I was doing an S, I can do that. I can use it almost as a round brush for filling in and things like that. But it's very good if you want to feel and see what you're doing. I like filling in with this particular one. But if I'm going out painting, I don't bother with that. I don't bother because I can still do all of that with my round head. Okay, I can do all of that with my round head.
Yeah.
If I keep my hands straight. If you want to do something with a nice bit of light and shade and thin and thick, either this one, which was the plain flathead, which I'd have in my kit, or I could put that in, but I normally don't worry. Okay, so that's that and that's that. The next one I'm going to talk about is the rigger, which is just what we were. I'm just moving that down a bit, clean piece of paper. The rigger, again, if I can put my finger next to it so that you get a scale. This
Tiny.
is, yes, a 1-inch rigger. Yes.
So it's long, but very, very thin.
Long and thin, yeah, very long and thin. Nice length handle. What colour have we used? Violet. Right, okay. Now, I'm going to try. I tend to, now this isn't necessarily the way you have to use the rigger. I tend to go from the bottom to the top because most often I'm using it for grass or something. Okay? But you will see that and that's my, I can get a nice thin line. But can you see there's a little, it's possibly because of my hand, but there's a little shape in it. But in terms of getting some very effective grass, it is always your line with a rigger. There is always a little tiny bit more depth at the bottom than at the top. It's just the way it comes out. So,
That's good grass.
You can use it, sideways by rolling it across. Do you remember when we were doing the glitter on the sea? If you made that with a reasonable amount of pigment, you could just roll it across and get that sort of spattered look. Okay, so that's a nice way to use the rigger. If you didn't, you could have a sea doing that. But the fine bits of, if you draw a tree and you look, the further you go out the twigs, the thinner they get. That's where I would move down from my big brush to my rigger, just to put in the hint of small branches. Okay, and as I say, the other place is for grasses and foreground. Anything that needs a bit of a highlight in a different colour, I would put that in. A good use for this later on today, when you finished your painting and you look at your flower, you might find that the colour has faded, and you think, oh, I wish that flower popped out a little bit more. All right, particularly for flower painting. One of the things you can do with a rigger or the fine tip of a brush is to go around the outside of the petal in a very fine red, a deep red, going onto the blue side. But if you see what I'm doing here, leave gaps at the edge of the leaf. All right, there's my, I don't know what type of flower that is. But you will actually find that you can hardly see it when it's dry, but it will really make your flowers pop up that little bit. It's like adding a little bit of shade, but there's something about the colour red, using a dark red.
So irrespective of what colour the flower is, Eileen, you'd use a red to draw that out?
Irrespective, yeah. It's actually something to do with the background rather than the flower itself.
The contrast.
So it's picking up dark hues from behind it, even if you're doing a sky behind it. I would then go for a pink-ish, watered down, not too bright, but definitely depth of colour. Okay, so we're not doing too badly. Again, for the cut edge, the diagonal thing, they come in all shapes and sizes. Basically, the bigger the piece of paper, the bigger the brush. Okay, now we're coming on to a specialist brush. This is the fan head brush. And it's the one Rita held up earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a bit fannier than that. I'd stuck it in water before I brought it over to the camera. Right. But it is, as it says, it's a fan shape. Okay. And when you put colour on that, let's see what colour we can have. Dip it in red. Okay. Go wild. This. Look at that. You can get lots of different activity going on. You can use it to draw a straight line if you're very careful by just using one area of the brush, but you're more likely to get multiple areas because as soon as you wet it, the bristles will clump together a little bit. All right?
I mean, that looks like it'd be really good fun. You know, like you'd put the 2 different colours on the S one.
Yes.
If you put 2 different colours and did the circles, you remember you showed us the water and those circles.
Different colours on each part of that brush, red on one, yellow on the other. Okay. You could do it, I need to wash my brush, red on one, and try that again with a stronger yellow. Okay. That's a rather nice one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, and you could do it again if you're thinking
puddle.
You can get different effects. The other way that I would suggest you think about using it is sometimes, if you, bearing in mind that skies are normally painted in blue, etc., you can indicate clouds by pushing up into it. Okay, just using the full brush, little touch of blue. But can you get the effect there of the fluffier clouds?
Yes.
Okay, do that with a, I put all that reddy colour in it, you could see. You can flood into the clouds, and rather, you know, when we paint clouds, sometimes you get a very straight edge, etc.
Yeah.
I would use this, I could dry it off, and the other thing I would do is use it to pull out the colour like that. Just a little bit, and it just softens the edges. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. Good news. We're getting close to the last 2 brushes I want to demonstrate with. These are silly brushes, really. No, this one isn't a silly brush. This is a really practical brush. Have you seen these?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
So you've got a
good.
water reservoir here at the bottom. Fill it with water, and you can then press, and the water comes out through your bristle at the end. Now, these synthetic ones that have been around for a few years now, they come in, I've seen them in 3 or 4 different sizes. They're getting better all the time. This one's got a beautiful point on it. Okay, so even though it's synthetic and it looks a really cheap thing, it gives a really nice line and nice control, because it does feel just like a pen. Okay, so, you know, and you can do the roll technique with it. Oops. Quite well. I'm just creating this into a poppy.
You just have to remember when you go through security that it has got liquid in it.
It has got liquid in it.
And some of them have got quite a big reservoir, and it can
Yeah,
trigger
and
the thing.
it might show up. So yeah, do be aware of that. But so I think for going out and about, I would I have that in my miniature paint set. Always carries one of those in it. Okay, so that's a really tiny set, but I can get loads of colours in it, and you can actually see that brush is ready to go. It's loaded up with water, ready to go out sometime. Okay, now the fun brushes. Here's another fun brush. Have you come across one of these?
Toothbrush.
Toothbrush. Okay. Now that paper's getting a little bit overworked. Let's see what we can do. Just let me find
Move your paint set. Is there something under it?
It might say brushes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was all it said. Very interesting. Oh, here we go. Right, let's use this piece of paper. Oops. I've got to keep that in. Toothbrushes, just something again that I was brought to my attention watching YouTube this week. When you're using your toothbrush, and again, if you're using a palette and you can get your colours on it, you can get more than one colour up there. I used to always flip it by going across the line, sorry, back here, by going that way, you know, top to bottom. But actually, it's far more controllable if you turn your toothbrush over, teeth facing downwards, and then.
That's one of the things they did in the masking fluid.
Yeah, and I had never been told that before, but it actually gives a much nicer spread than the way I've been doing it. So I, in future, will be using this one. Okay. It is also good, though, as something else to think about, as a stamping tool. Okay. Okay, you can get lots of different coloured paints onto your brush, and you can
have poppies in a distance, or
poppies in a distance. Yeah, I think we could do, you know, you could have ferns like my thing, you could use that. Okay, so it works really well. My next painting tool,
Hello, Johnny.
is, do you recognise this one?
Oh yeah,
It's oranges, satsumas,
Oranges,
tangerines.
it's nice to have a use for those.
Yeah, it works well in two ways. You can put it down and paint across it. Okay, I'm using green on this one. Okay. And pick it up. No, it didn't work so well there. Works brilliantly in acrylics. But again, if you wanted random shapes, you'll get it that way. Okay. But the other way is, now that that is wet, if I press it down and lift it off, again, I'm getting a completely different set of textures from using it by painting across it, by actually stamping with it. Okay? Because then, if you want, you can take any of your brushes. If you then wanted to highlight it a bit more, you could also always move the, you know, it around. But it gives you that hit and miss look that's a bit more random than just a solid line. Because sometimes, you know, if you see a continuous solid line, it isn't exciting. Whereas if you leave gaps that people's brain fills in, it is far more exciting. And last but not least, a good old piece of cardboard. Okay, this is Amazon, you know, so make as much use of Amazon as you can. Just put a lodge of any colour you like along the edge. Okay, whoops, of course I didn't put it on very finely. And I can get nice straight lines using that. Okay, and as I was trying to do there, the other end has got a serrated edge, so I can get either spots, or I can actually drag it and make parallel lines. Okay, so I know that that's took longer than 5 minutes, by which time your masking is arrived. I hope there you've got an idea of some of the uses for brushes. There are other things you'll come across that are called dagger brushes. And anything else with a specialist name normally means it's got the end of it cut to a particular shape so that it holds more water. A dagger brush, I only mentioned because it came up in something else, is one of these brushes, the angled, well, it's a cross really between the angled brush and the round head brush. But so it has a lovely point on it, but it's got more of a barrel here for the water. So you get a long squiggly shape with it. But I've never found the need to go and invest in that. Flat brush, round brush, the big flat as well. They're the ones that I stick to. And then I do marks with other materials that I can grab my hands onto. So, you know, later on we might take a leaf off of one of your flowers and stamp it onto your picture to give it a real
Nice.
natural look to the foliage, for example. Okay.
Brilliant.
One last thing, remember to always wash your brush out. A bit of soap in the water is very good. Work well into the neck to get it all out of there, because otherwise you will transfer colours very, very easily.
And you can use hair conditioner.
Hair conditioner. Oh yes, and you can actually condition your brushes using hair conditioner or hand lotion.
Particularly the hair ones,
I do
the
that.
sable.
Yeah, and the other one, again, I don't know which video this was in. I do this anyway, but I have had somewhere, you know, the hotel bars of soap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can do all the things like, you know, clean up near the ferrule there. All right. But when I've cleaned it out in fresh water again, just before I put it away, just run soap over the top, and it will bring the tip back to a tip. Okay, and particularly where I'm using my huge big brushes, that's really important to get your tip back before you put your brush away, and to dry your brush with the head down so that you don't get any rusting in here and you don't get colour running up into the ferrule.
How do you do that then, Eileen? Do you have a rack or something?
No, normally I have a, let's see if I can get, you know, these dog head clips.
Oh, and just pin it on your board or something.
Yeah, there's a plastic box. I just do that, stick it through there. Also chose a small bulldog clip and a large thing, but normally I can stand them in there.
Or on the edge of your board. That's a good idea.
Oh yeah, and on the edge of the board, you know,
Yeah.
the stuff that we use to stick round for insulation,
Yeah.
this grey stuff.
Yeah.
Is that better than just putting them upside down in a pot?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, if you put them upside down, the
Yes.
water is running down into
Oh,
the
okay, that
metal.
makes sense.
Yeah. If you've got this though, I quite often have that on the side of something and I lay them across it. I've just literally put 4 holes in it and I can get my, you know, 3 or 4 brushes.
That's
quite
just a
easily.
piece of foam, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, insulating
The
foam.
insulating foam off of the pipe,
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
you know, a pool noodle.
I
But
must
like
admit, my
that.
brushes tend to go just, you know, brush up. I hadn't really
Yeah.
thought about it.
I like yeah, like a
No, I hadn't thought about that. That's
If you're
very
using
good.
your flat brush for painting wardrobes, etc., make sure to get the emulsion off it first.
Yeah, be true about those paintbrushes too.
Right, now I've taken up enough of your time talking about
Eileen, can
brushes.
I add one?
Yes.
This one.
Oh, your
The
finger.
finger.
The finger brush.
It's
finger
probably
brush.
my most used utensil for painting.
I think it is definitely useful.
But
for
that's
painting.
because I do more acrylic. It doesn't work probably so well for watercolour, does it?
It does in some
Nudges.
instances.
Yeah.
There is one more thing I did want to tell you, and it is quite important because it will save you money. All right. When you buy your brushes, these brushes, right, the ones when I was getting ready for this video, I looked at, and they're rubbish brushes that I purchased. Okay. This one was a beautiful synthetic brush. Hair brush, a natural brush. I left it in my shed and the mice have eaten it.
Ah,
Okay. Mice like it. This one, flathead brush, nice little size, that when you wet it and put it on the paper, it goes down, but it doesn't actually pop back up. If I did that with this brush, with the one that I like, I put that down and take it off, the bristles go straight back up. This one stays bent, so that's rubbish. Same with this one. It's a nice size brush, but actually, can you see when I put it down, it just stays in place. And I've got this one. I paid a lot of money for this one. This was meant to be, oh, what's the posh one? Sable. It was meant to be a sable one, okay? And the same thing happens. I put it down and it sort of stays down and it doesn't even go back to a point. Yeah, when I put it in water, I should be able to bring it to a point that stays in a point. and it sort of stays at an angle. So that's hopeless. So they're just a couple of things to watch out for when you're looking at your brushes. If they're in that state,
So, and it's from what you're saying, Eileen, it's not always the price you pay, because you said you had a nice sable brush there, and so it's not always about the price, although that's going to be a guide, I suppose.
Yeah, it's you know, so if you get the chance to try out a brush, it is always best. An art shop will let you try out their brushes. They'll let you dip it in water and shake it, see if it comes to a point. If they don't let you, you know, go somewhere else, they say. However, if I like the look of it, I tend to buy it. Naughty. Right, back to the other ones. How's your actual painting going? I'm just going to find mine somewhere here.
Thank you, Eileen. That was great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Eileen. That's just what I needed.
Good things.
Oh, there we go.
This is not keeping a paintbrush in a pot.
Right. Have you, how far have you got? Are your paintings, is your masking tape now well dried?
Yes, I've already got one flower, so that was quick and easy.
Okay, that's fine. Do you remember what I said about backgrounds though? How we tend to forget about them, right? What you want, or what works really well, particularly in watercolours, is to have either a faded out background or a fuzzy background, all right? So to do that, you would just pick up, you know, do your wash. So I'm doing a wash up here, and I'm just going to pick up what I think are background colours in the blues and greens range. And where the masking fluid is, obviously the paint won't settle. So if I'm putting water down to where the masking fluid is, I'm just doing it quickly so you can see. I'm just doing that corner to start with. I'm just going to put in some dark green background with some blue in it. And if I feel like it, there might be something else in the background, a bit of yellow maybe further over. And that will dry, and with your masking tape where it is, leaving a lovely outline for you then to be working with. Okay. Outside my window here, I've got a greeny, yellowy patch of grass. Okay, so I'm with my big brush. And the thing is that when I do this, I don't want any regular angles of it. I'm just getting detail. So you might decide that at the front, I might put in the windowsill. Okay. And I might have that as a slightly different set of colours. My windowsill here is brown, but I've gone for purple and blue. And it is in this instance, the red stripe I did without wetting the paper first. I just loaded my brush. So I've got a straight edge across the top. And here, I'm just dropping in some other colour. I just like colour. I'm not particular in my background. If I was painting a very detailed church steeple or something in the background here, I'd take a little bit more care. But for my garden out here is just colour. So I'm just popping those colours in. Are you happy to do that?
Yes, thank you.
Good. Okay, and I'm putting more water on over here. In fact, I need to go and change my water. I'll be back in a second. Right, clean water now. Sometimes I'm not sure. I have to think, where was it that I actually can see some shapes emerging. That's good. Oh. Right. because I want a bit of balance, and I've gone for this yellow green on that side, I'm going for blue green on the other side. I'm going to put more blue in this one, in this side back here.
Eileen, can you get masking fluid in different colours? Because having white on white isn't the most helpful with me painting at the moment.
You can shrink, do one that's blue, but in that lovely little video,
Yes, that was another handy tip.
it was a very good little tip, because I've done that now. If you add some watercolour that doesn't have a lot of staining power, so cobalt blue was the example, put a bit of that in it and you'll be able to see your masking fluid better.
Oh, that would help.
Yeah, that's really a big useful.
Or masking tape into a little container, like an egg cup.
Yeah.
So, you know, you don't...
Add it.
I'd forgotten about that, but that was good, yeah.
Yeah, that was really quite a good. I felt, as I say, that's probably the most useful little video clip I've had for ages.
Was it by anyone in particular, or you just came across it by chance?
No, I was looking about paintbrushes, and then I thought, I don't know where I went and found that. I think it just came up as the next video on the link.
Oh, right.
So, you know, luck plays its part in these things. Oh, now I'm going in for some vivid green there.
And she didn't send up with a wonderful painting or anything. I like that. It was all very technical and handy.
It was a good descriptor. Okay. Right. And back
I've
here.
no idea where my masking fluid is. I'll find out when I pull it off.
My masking tape is very yellow looking.
If you're able to move or shine a light at it, you will see it. If you can either twiddle it around or...
Yeah, but at the moment I've got wet paint around it as well. That sort of.
Which is nice. That's good, because that actually gives you a lot of contrast up against the leaf of your flower. And I'm going in deep in here. In the centre of my flowers here, I've gone for the darkest colour on my palette, which was the dark green and the dark blue. And that's what you really are aiming for, is to get some nice contrast. Not always, but over a fair majority of your page, a fair bit of contrast. Right. Once I've got this on, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to paint a leaf to make it look realistic fairly quickly. All right. So while you're doing that, I'll show you how to do a leaf. I can come back and finish that because that's really wet. Are you happy if I paint a leaf for you?
Yes.
Okay. I'm picking up a yellow. In this case,
I'm just listening all the time, Eileen.
Well, where I've got a big green leaf, I'm picking up the yellow in thin watercolour, not too thick, and I'm just painting in that leaf. And you must now let that leaf dry. So it's okay to do a couple of leaves quickly and go away and come back to it. All right, and finish filling in. So I'm going to fill in quite a few of my leaves with a yellow background. All right, they're not going to end up yellow, but some of them will have that tinge to them. It's also helping me for what Rita just described. Sometimes you can lose the pattern of what you're painting so easily when you've got loads of lines. Yeah, if it runs like mine has here, as I said, it was rather wet, I will just pick that off. I don't want it there at the minute. It will go there soon, but not yet. Where else have I got leaves? So this definitely helps me find my leaves. There we are, another leaf. That was a rose petal. I'm just looking at the real thing now to see where the leaves were and where the other things were. Okay, that's a leaf. And my ferns are leaves, but I'm leaving them till the end. And is this a leaf? This is a leaf.
What did I? Oh, I know, it was in my sketchbook.
Okay.
Lost something.
No, I was just wondering where the poppy plants were. They're in my sketchbook.
So I've got a whole layers of leaves down at the bottom here that I'm completely forgotten about, but they're all going yellow because it's the easiest. Now, if you're feeling brave, use a different yellow on a couple of them. So this leaf up here, I'm going to go for the ochre, which is a more orangey yellow. Oh, it's not as heavy. I'm going to put that up here. And I'm going to, let's see, have a leaf on there. Okay. This way.
Eileen, are you allowed out in Ireland now?
Sorry?
Are you allowed out in Ireland or bubbling or anything like England is?
You're allowed out, but you can't. I think you still can't go more than 20 metres. So even if you go for a drive, you can't go for more
20
than
metres. That's
kilometres. Sorry,
20 kilometres.
20 metres wouldn't be terribly far, now would it? Yeah, and the shops are opening today. So
Yeah, right, the same as here.
like in England, I don't think we're going to have queues like they've got.
what is there big queues in English shops?
In
Yeah, Primark, they were queuing. They had to
Really?
open early into the
Really?
headlines. Yeah.
Well, I'm amazed.
Why are you?
Well, why would people want to go shopping? Especially when it's lovely and sunny.
No.
Well, you know, people have got growing kids, they've grown out of their clothes.
Yeah,
That's
they
true.
can't wait. There's Asda that's been opened. There's Tesco, Sainsbury's, all
You
these.
weren't allowed to, I didn't think you were allowed to go to the non-food bits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course you are.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I assumed
Oh, Mary would have been out shopping ages ago.
by hell. Oh, that's
Mary,
interesting.
have you been shopping?
By hell, no.
No.
She went to B&Q. She's lying.
I did.
And you can get children's clothes there. You're right about that.
I did go to B&Q last week with Simon. I got some electric wire and some colour charts for my front room.
People, while we're painting and thinking and whatever else we're doing, we'd like to come up with a list of things, topics, that we're going to cover over the coming weeks, if we have any.
Any weeks? I hope we'll live that long.
No, I didn't mean if we had any weeks. If we have any suggestions or topics we'd like to cover, things that we had on the list before, Eileen, was like perspective and portraits and
yeah.
Landscape, portraits.
Throw loads of those sort of things. So you really,
shout them out, and we'll have a.
you might be
Is
able to.
Megan still with us? I can't see her.
This might be a longer term one, Rita. Digital painting. If people haven't used a digital system to do that.
Megan is still here. Megan, can you hear us? Just smile, because I know you're on mute. You're here.
I was just wondering, Megan, what are you painting? Because you didn't know. Is it flowers or is it something completely different?
No, it is flowers. It's a bunch of different little flowers.
Oh,
Lovely. And is it a good video? I mean, is it easy to follow along and keep up?
Yeah, it's a very, very simple pictures.
Oh,
and it is
that's
pretty
been
nice
nice.
to follow along.
So,
You need to share with us
faces and heads, haven't you?
what else you might want
was one we talked about.
Composition. These are things people have said before. Brushes we've done. Fish.
So what did we have? We had perspective.
Yeah,
Buildings.
yeah.
What was the other one?
Heads and faces stroke portraits.
Yeah.
People in the distance.
Oh yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
Painting rain.
Okay.
Painting people in rain.
Or painting people in rain. That's good.
Megan, any requests? Just
Not that I
in
can
terms of
think
general
of.
topics. Sorry?
Not that I can think of.
Oh, does anyone want to paint animals?
Oh, that
Oh, that would be cool, yeah.
Okay.
You could paint a cat.
Yes.
We haven't seen, either of you haven't seen your cat, Megan, or Francis's today.
No, I don't know
They're
where she
out
is.
sunbathing.
Possibly.
Someone said something else before I got my pencil out. So I've got perspective portraits, people in the distance, painting rain, which could include people, animals.
Digital.
Oh, digital, that was it.
And what's people's thoughts about colour ideas and understanding the colour wheel?
That's a good one, because it's there are some artists who really use it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a Renoir one. I think
I was
it is,
thinking
where-
read your buzz one.
The orange and purple type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Colour wheel and colours.
Yeah.
Do you know there's some fascinating things? Of course you know that. I'll narrow it down a little. Do you know, have you seen any of those videos, or is anyone, I'm sure Eileen and Francis, you'll have got this in lessons or something. You know, where the colour we see is just not the colour you put on the paper at all.
Yeah,
It's all to
I
do
can
with
believe that.
contrast.
Yes.
So you'll put a green against a red to get a different colour. And so it's not the palette colour necessarily, it's how it comes together and what it's juxtaposed with. That
it's
gives
the
it,
colour wheel, Rita, isn't it?
It is part of the colour wheel. Yeah.
oh, well, that's all right then, because we've got colour wheel. So whoever's doing it's going to cover that too.
It's going to be Rita.
June, did you want anything around oils, or to share with us anything about oils, or?
I'd like to do
I mean,
it.
I don't mind sharing what I know. It's very
Yeah.
similar to watercolours, funny enough, you're saying it, but it's much thicker texture and it stays
Yeah.
wet. So
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, so you can
Yeah.
play around with it a bit more.
yeah, a hell of a lot more. Yeah, yeah.
That'd be
Well, we might
lovely.
not all have oil paints. I suppose that's the only
Yeah,
Yeah, I
difference.
don't have oils.
But the
But we
thing
can
is,
get-
like June, you said from the demonstrations Eileen's done, you're still using those techniques in the oil, aren't you? So
Oh,
even if we were
yes.
using watercolour
Yeah.
and you were showing us something in oil, we could see how that plays out.
I mean, there's things you do with oils you can't do with watercolour, like mixing your colours, your skies and your sea. You just use one big brush and you can soften everything down and make it into textures. Whereas with watercolour, you've got to stop,
You're stuck.
which I haven't got the patience for yet. It is a
It's interesting how acrylic seems to fall between the two pretty
Yes.
much in lots of ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't like it. I can't. I tried trying to.
Oh,
Yeah,
But
it's-
you're liking watercolour, aren't you, June?
I'm getting the ideas. Yeah, yeah. It again, like oils, it's you can keep it a bit wetter, whereas acrylics you can't. I tried doing something the other day to make water and that, and it was just drying too quick.
yeah.
You can get a medium that keeps it tackier for longer.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Ah,
Sorry, I'll look it up and see if I can find it for you.
Yeah, because there's a medium for oils. If you get the one oils that dry quickly, you can. Well, again, you can use it anyway to keep everything flowing.
What's gum arabic? That's just to make things translucent, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got
Yeah,
some of
and you
that.
can mix pigment in it.
Okay.
So the pigment that we got, actually, for those of you that weren't there, it's a problem. But for those of us that were in Marrakesh and have got some pigments,
Oh, yes.
we haven't used them yet, have we?
No.
No, this is true. I have the gum arabic, I have the pigment, and I haven't used them yet. So yes, that would be fun. I'd love to do that. I need somebody to encourage me to do that. So yeah, we'll do that.
So who's going to
Got
lead
to
next
use
week?
those pigments. They were gorgeous.
What?
They're brilliant colours. Yeah, the pigment we got from Marrakesh,
Oh,
Mary.
Yeah.
Megan and Lydia, we went to Marrakesh as a family for Rita's birthday in December,
Sounds gorgeous.
and we bought some actual proper pigment.
Mm.
raw pigment. I don't know.
Oh,
Powder.
are you giving us options, Rita?
Okay. Because Kathleen thought it was fun doing polls.
Well, I like this. 255 already want to do this. Oh, characters. I thought. Right. Okay.
Are you looking at? Oh, am I sharing this screen? You're seeing this?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's all right.
I
But
think it's very clever.
it is. Well, I don't have to be sharing screen. I can't surprise you, can I?
No.
I don't know where it's gone now.
Right. Shall I show you the next bit of the leaf? Why I painted it yellow to start with. Okay.
Yeah.
While Rita's doing that bit, picking up your bluey green again. Looking at my foliage here and a bit of yellow, all on the same brush. I'm now going to paint this in, but I'm leaving gaps where the veins of the by just not touching, by just not touching it, I'm leaving gaps. And with my big brush, you can see how much water. I haven't gone back to the watering pot yet. And that's a leaf that will look like a leaf. Rather than a flat surface, it's got different levels of light and shade going on there. But it was important that the yellow was dry. Okay. And again, I'm going to go for...
You can do a similar technique with wet in wet, Eileen, can't you?
You can. And
a slightly different answer.
Yeah. You could paint over the whole top and then go in with a clean brush, a flathead brush, mind you, is best. And you could clean water, one stripe out with your brush, dab it dry, take it out again. You could actually remove the paint to get the veins of the leaves as well. So I'm just going, I'm not as good on this side of my... I've got a bit more green on this side. I'm trying because I want that to be a little bit darker. And if you've got variety in your leaves, that's what adds some of the character to them. So I'm just stripes and leaving stripes. And you can start to see where my masking fluid is there as well, where it's resisting. And I've left the... And when I take the masking fluid off, there's nothing to stop me going back in over this to darken it again if I want. Okay? But that's built up that fairly quickly. I've got another one.
Looks beautiful, Eileen. Look at that big fat brush.
It is a huge fat brush, but again, I can make it work for me.
I'm still a little disappointed that when Johnny bought me my one like that for my birthday and paid whatever it was, 50 quid for it, all the hair still came out.
Wasn't that from Ruth, what's her name?
Yeah, the one round, yeah.
I'm sure if you contacted them, they'd have just replaced the brush, Rita, because it shouldn't happen.
Well, I did contact them. They're just down in Keighley, but they wouldn't let me go to it, and I had to do something complicated to return it. I wasn't able to just drop it in and change it. Eileen, are you in the middle of something, or will I launch the poll now?
Launch the poll, because I'm carrying on. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 more leads to do. Because you said, oh, right. Oh.
So now you have to answer it.
Oh.
That's all I've got to do, isn't it? Just put it up there. You can only pick one. You've got a single answer for next week. I haven't worked out how we can do it multiple choice yet.
Oh. I've answered. And I better look at my leaves again and see what colours they really are.
Oh, your leaves are so good. I have to go back over this and just concentrate on doing a leaf.
But that's, you can build up, as I say, loads of layers of colour on the leaves.
Yeah, that's what I want mine to be, the colour they end up with straight away, and I'm still making that mistake.
Well,
oh, I know, Rita, add to the list for next week, building colour on colour. So if you want a green, what colour should you put your first layer? Do you know what I mean? Like Eileen has.
That's your colour wheel.
That's your colour wheel and optics. If you want that one, have you answered the poll question?
Is it? No, no, I'll still stick with what I wanted, but it's not colour wheel, because I know how to mix colours to get the colour I want.
So if you look at Lydia's, if you look at Lydia's chart that she put on about a week ago,
Yeah.
it shows you the colour blends.
Does it tell you the order of the colours to put on your paper?
No.
No, it's just saying you to get that colour, use that colour up there and that colour at the side.
Yeah.
Which is not what Eileen's doing. Eileen is building up colours from what she's got already on the paper.
Yeah.
What do you mean, from lighter to darker? Or what do you mean, Kathy?
I mean, the way she's just done her leaf, it was yellow and now it's darker green and lighter green.
Yeah, that's because the yellow was the base colour, because yellow, green and...
Okay,
the
that's
colour,
what it's in
the flower, it's in the plants. The green, the yellow's part of the leaf.
If you look at your veins, the veins are that colour. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at rhododendron.
2 minutes to go before the poll disappears. If you haven't voted, only 3 of you have voted so far.
Oh, do you have to touch it?
Yeah.
You have to
answer.
Have you all got it on screen somewhere?
Came right up. Right. My first
Can anyone see? Can everyone see it?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Rita. I can.
Thank you.
I don't know about everyone, but I can.
You haven't got other suggestions.
You've got another suggestion now, Mary. What's that?
Ironing.
What is it?
Ironing.
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 I'm not paying attention to her. You can do a quick sketch of your ironing.
Sketchbooking, that would be another one.
Well, we've got quick sketching. Would that be sketchbooking, Francis, or is that something different?
Well,
okay, we've got 4 people out of 9 have voted. Oh, we haven't really got 9 people, have we? Francis, anyone who's got 2 screens open gets 2 votes. That's what it is. How many of us are there? 7.
No,
But we still need 6.
Be honest to not vote.
Pardon?
Twice.
You haven't voted twice.
Machine.
Okay. Has anyone not voted who'd like to vote, and it's the technology that's standing in the way?
I've only got 4 things on mine, actually.
No,
on my iPad, it only has 3 items.
Well, you must have to scroll down then.
I've already voted, but you can scroll down. I didn't realise.
That's what I thought you said. Sketching was right at the end, Fran, and you mentioned that, didn't you?
Yeah.
You can vote again if you've got another machine. Or it doesn't matter. We can just make a choice, because actually we've got 1 person for 4 different things. So that's fine. They're our next 4 weeks, maybe.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? That's good that way.
But that means that some people haven't voted. Kathleen, what did you vote for?
I'm not telling you. It's an anonymous vote.
June, have you voted?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Megan, have you voted? Where's Megan? Oh, is Megan gone?
No, sorry.
No, Megan's there.
Yes, I have voted.
Yes, you have voted. Lydia, have you voted?
Yes, I have.
Well, that's
Rita,
more
have
than
you
4
voted?
people.
Have you voted, Rita?
Eileen and Francis, I can't because
You
I'm
just click on
posting.
it, then close it.
I think so. But we have only got 4 responses out of 9.
I've responded.
Mary has.
Yes.
Did
You
you
need to-
respond on the polling mechanism, Mary?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Eileen, you've responded?
Yeah, I've responded.
All right. Well, let's just, who wants to do what then? Because this isn't working. For some reason, they're not registering. I'll end poll. And we've only got 4 responses.
Oh.
Okay, I said perspective.
I said sketching.
Oh, so yours didn't register, Francis. So perspective's got 1. Next,
Animals.
Mary, animals. Lydia?
I said people and figures in the distance, and that hasn't registered, has it?
People and people, that's fine. We're doing it we're doing it the old-fashioned way, Lydia. It'll work. Eileen?
I said oils.
What?
June?
What did you say?
Portraits.
Portraits.
Yeah.
Megan?
I said animals as well.
It's animals next week, whoever's volunteering to do that. Oh, Eileen, you can do all sorts of farm animals fantastically, of course. But Eileen, you might want a break. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is there 7 of us if I choose one?
Yeah. There are 7 of us.
Oh, I don't know. I'm putting down colour wheel. Okay, so it's animals next week. How are we going to do that? We can, of course, any of us can do it and find a video to follow, or it seems a bit unfair that Eileen does them all.
I don't mind finding something to do.
About animals.
Yeah.
And you have got your cat. You don't do many portraits of your cat or anything, do you, Fran?
Oh, I'd love to do a portrait of a cat. Francis, do portraits, animals.
Of cats,
Animals.
yes, I'd like to do my cats as well.
I'd love
Okay,
to
we're
do
doing cats next week.
Yeah.
Okay, so animals sound good. Well, it could be a pet dog, a pet maybe.
Oh, a pet dog, yeah. It's the furriness, because you can get that furriness in the other
I
thing.
want cows like Eileen's cows.
Ah.
You'll have to wait for a week.
Well, we could do animals for 2 weeks. We could do hairy animals and not so hairy animals the following week. So Francis, you're happy to do hairy animals next week?
Yep.
And then we can add to the list other animals further along the line. And if we just keep this list going.
Just a minute. Will hairy animals be more difficult than smooth animals? Because maybe we should do the smooth animals first.
Like a snake or something.
Well, to get the texture, though, that'd be really difficult.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
that's
can tell us
interesting.
about hairy animals. You can tell us
I'm
how
doing
to
cats next week, all right?
But the thing is, remember that cats, it could be like a Picasso cat. It doesn't have to be, we're not all doing figurative paintings, are we, or realistic? So how could you capture the characteristic of a soft and fluffy and meowy?
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Francis,
interesting.
you might need to share some reference pictures. I haven't got a cat at the moment.
I've got loads. Megan and I, I'm sure,
I have to go
and
and take
Lydia, I'm
pictures
sure
of all
Lydia
the
can
cats,
as well.
Megan's, and around the village. We've got plenty of cats around the village, actually, haven't we?
If you join Pinterest, they do loads of pictures.
Yeah, and
That's true.
think
I
I've
just don't like doing, I like there to be a connection. I like it to be either a photo I've taken myself or a dog I know or something like that.
Oh, you know, you could do
Plenty of
it
cats, you know.
in memory of Dibbles.
I could just do Dibble, but that would be quite sad.
Did someone just say Dibble?
Yeah.
Who had a cat called Dibble?
A
No,
dog.
me too, John had a dog called Dibble.
Oh, because I had a cat called Dibble.
Yeah.
Wow. Was it the Pooh Boo Barney McGrew, Dibble? Mine was the Pooh Boo Barney McGrew, not the Top Cat one. No, I think.
Officer Dibble from Top Cat, or from what was it called? What was the fire station? Trumpton.
Top Cat.
Yeah. No, Top Cat was Sergeant Dibbles, was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
And
Well, they're all a long time ago now. I'm almost forgetting.
Trumpton.
I was going to say Trump.
Barney and Grove, Dibble and Grub.
Yeah, or the monkeys. No.
Really?
Oh, my
How we
stuff's
doing?
coming off really good now. Was, you know, putting the washing powder or washing hand soap I used, was that meant to help it come off as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's really good.
So you
then.
don't
It's not
ruin
just
your
for the
brushes?
brush. Interestingly, I painted all over it and now all my colour's gone. I had red poppies, but I obviously had this stuff underneath. Oh dear. Right, well, you won't be getting, we're not sharing any of my poppy picture yet. I'll have to get it to you by Friday.
Mary, how's your rose? Because I'm just about to do a rose.
I've sent mine. Not
Have you? Oh, wow, that's quick. Let me have a look.
that.
Where are you? Up there, up there, up there, up the top. Oh, yes. Oh, wow, you've got lovely like page. That's really nice.
Right, I've got
Mary.
And good leaves.
Mary wants to go ironing now, doesn't she?
Yes. Mary, if you masking taped it before you painted it,
I did.
Masking fluid. Yeah.
masking tape around the edge.
Yes.
Oh, it's very reticulated then.
Let's have a look.
Ooh,
At
Mary,
Fancy word.
send a picture that takes in the whole of the picture, please.
I don't know where I put it.
Take your camera further back.
People aren't very good at doing that.
I can't remember where I put it.
Francis.
That looks really pretty.
Peter, do you want
Yeah.
to close your shared screen?
Right, Francis.
I can't even see Mary anymore.
Right, do you see
Oh
that?
yeah, there she is.
I had it marked and masked exactly.
I don't think I am sharing, Eileen. Am I?
Francis, whoever asked me about the masking, it was the mask exactly the same as that.
Oh,
Let's
Eileen, I'm not sharing.
It was me that needed to close. So I thought it was sharing.
Oh, I've lost it. It shows you the state of my dark study.
I'm not doing any more of mine now. I'm going to let it just
Dry.
Okay.
It's not being right. If it comes right, I will share it with you all.
Seems fair.
But thank you, Eileen. So
Thank you very much.
Kathleen, can I ask, have you actually painted the flower or have you left it white?
no, the flowers are painted yet. I'm doing the background, but it's all leaves, you see.
No, that's so. Just remember that thing though, that with some of your leaves, some you'll make a lot darker by adding blue, hopefully, all right, and some you'll make a lot lighter by taking out the water. So with a brush, you just brush across and stamp it out, and you'll get a lighter colour underneath.
Well, I think
So
I
get
need to
lots
let
of
it dry
variation.
now, and then because I've been
Then
using
do
water, you know, those things for taking colour out and things.
Yeah. Well, I'm just doing my rose, which is
I
nice.
can't find mine anymore. Where you wanted to see it because I can't remember where I put it. And it's not in the bin I've checked.
Anyway, thank you very much, Eileen.
Yes,
Are you disappearing, Kathleen?
Yeah, because I'm going to get cross with mine in a minute. So it's best to leave it.
It is.
Or not cross with me, you know, like, oh, why isn't this, you know, ooh.
I can't understand this.
Frustrated with it. I'm now going to make up a paint rack for drying my paintbrushes I used.
Oh,
That's impressive learning then.
like a good move.
Bloody stupid. Sorry.
It's over 2 hours we've been concentrating. That's a long time.
Where is it?
So I'm impressed with people.
Right. Can't be far.
I have finished the video and stuff, so I'll
Go
put
on
a
then.
picture on the, well, I've written the flowers by some of them. Others I didn't because I didn't know what flowers they were. I didn't, like she said what they were, but I didn't know. So they don't actually look like the real life ones that I've just Googled. But I've labelled some of them. Can you see that?
Let's get you.
Oh, so you've got lots.
Oh, they're pretty.
Yeah.
Hydrangea.
Oh, I love those purple ones.
Them.
Yeah.
They're
I
gorgeous,
think
aren't they?
they
The
were
purples.
supposed to be hyacinth.
Hyacinths.
That's what they look like.
Hold
Very
it up
good.
again, Megan, because it took me that length of time to get. Oh, I like those. Are they grape hyacinths?
Yes. Yeah.
Ah.
Oh.
They're lovely, just like the ones I had in the garden earlier. Oh, that was quite a nice way to do it, to do individual flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit more like botanical painting.
Oh, so maybe we should add to our list meadow, a wildflower meadow, and then we can have all the individual little flowers. That would be cute.
They can splatter puppies all over the place.
I Bye bye for now then. I'll see you all next week.
See you next week.
You'll share the picture as well, please.
Oh yeah, okay.
Lovely,
Thank you.
lovely. Thank you. Bye, Megan.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Mr. Joe Wicks is, oh, did we tell Francis Joe Wicks is only going to do 3 days a week now?
From next week.
Yeah. However, what was the plan?
To do the seniors or the less energetic one
Yeah.
on the alternate days.
And I want to go to Bondi Beach.
And you want to go, does he do them on Bonsai Beach?
Yeah, some of them, and he does them from all over the place.
Lydia, feel free to join us.
Where? On Bondi Beach. Oh, what's this?
And you. Bonsai, we do keep fit. With Joe Wicks.
Oh, his wife,
Oh, right.
his
Yeah.
wife was a model.
Okay. What do you do that every day?
Yeah. Well, Monday
Yeah,
to
we're
Friday.
crazy.
Oh, okay.
It's
Except
good.
he stopped doing it, so we haven't worked
I
out.
do it. I most probably won't do it next week when he's not doing it.
Oh, but we'll be doing it.
Oh, if you're all doing it every day, I'll join you.
What you do it with Zoom? Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, it's good.
It's quite full on.
Yeah, it
You
sounds
do it
bit-
at your own rate. I don't know about the rest of them, but I do my own thing quite
Some
often.
of them, yeah.
Definitely do own thing.
Okay. Can you send me the link then?
Same Rita Zoom, the same number.
Yeah. Oh, right.
9 o'clock.
570, and it's
Yeah.
for 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock every morning.
Yeah. Every morning this week, and then we'll work out what we're doing next week.
Okay. Okay. We'll see. We'll see.
You get a good sweater.
Is sweat a good thing?
It feels afterwards.
Well, you certainly feel like you want to give yourself a high five, or I do. At the end, like, well done, you're still alive, that sort of thing.
Oh, look, I've missed a leaf after all.
I don't believe this.
Mary's still looking. Mary's lost her picture. It's really pretty. A yellow rose.
Yeah, I've lost it.
I can't believe it. I've taken all my painting stuff down again in case I put it up. Check with him.
I've set myself a challenge for this week to turn this into a picture that looks like anything.
Yeah, my challenge is to get these leaves looking a bit better.
Say again,
Let's
sorry.
do the plan. Maybe I'll just give up on the leaves, do a little background the same colour, and concentrate on this flower, which is mainly white.
And then that will be.
What are you doing ironing this time of the day? I've got a stack of ironing to do. You just come up here and do it.
Yeah, like a bubble.
It's only sheets today, so. Oh, and
Washing gets dry so quickly.
Fine, it's only sheets because you can't be wearing many fancy clothes that need ironing, surely.
no, but by the time I've done Simon's and Peter's, and they
You
wear
still do Simon's ironing?
yeah.
Oh, all right.
Well, he does do all her shopping for her.
Okay, fair enough.
Big pro quo.
I bet she's been doing it all the time, even when he wasn't doing the shopping.
Well, the thing about Mary, she genuinely likes ironing.
Yeah,
She
true.
enjoys it. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh, I've got it all set up.
I don't hate it, but I wouldn't choose to do it rather than painting or eating or drinking.
It's like a thinking time, isn't it? Because it's absolutely non-intellectual.
None of you commented on my new fringe, so I can't have cut it too badly.
Oh, that's a good move then.
You look very healthy this morning. You had the glow of your run and your hair looked very nice. Had you already showered before PE?
No, I showered afterwards. Not very
So
long
you were
ago.
warm from the run,
Minutes
weren't
ago.
you?
I came back and I forget, what was I doing? Oh, I was playing on doing something. Oh, I know, I was getting my new car insurance.
Did you sort it?
Oh, have you sorted that out, Kathleen?
Well, yeah, they said they'd send it. I sent an email. I spoke to somebody. They said it.
That's not fair, really, isn't it?
Oh,
Oh,
let me
Keep it up while I pin it up. Pin video. Oh, your lilies, yeah.
Oh,
a little bit to the
beautiful.
right, a little bit. That was lovely.
Oh, they're nice.
That one, and then I done that one.
Oh,
And that's
poppy.
your
Welsh
Welsh
poppy.
poppy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, lovely.
I get impatient and ruin them.
You haven't
Did you
ruined
enjoy
those.
doing it? And did you learn? Because it looks like you've got the different shading in the lily, in particular in the leaves,
Yeah, it was fine. I've overdone it. That's the.
No,
It's
the
the
petals.
wrong
Yeah.
colour. It's meant to be pale pink.
Yeah,
it
but
doesn't matter though, it works like that.
Aren't the tiger lilies are that colour though, aren't they?
yeah, but you see, June, no one else will see the original. They'll just see your picture and think, oh, that's beautiful.
Yes.
That's my trouble. I think I need it to look exact, the colours. And that's the thing I have problems with, is matching the colours up.
That's interesting because you did all the textile and all the fabrics and everything.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing, well, near enough in alls, but I find mixing up the paints to get the right colour.
Oh well, we'll do the colour thing sometime.
Yeah,
That
I
got
think
one score.
knowing, you know.
Yeah, but in isolation, if you don't see what you were actually painting, you've got a picture there that's definitely represents flowers, and they are very pretty.
Yes. And lilies, even not just any old flowers. They're very
Yeah, they're
nice.
absolutely right shape. That's where I go wrong. That's why I want sketching, to be able to get things looking like what they're meant to do. That's very bad English.
Yeah, right. Whose turn is it now then? Offer me. Yeah.
Lydia, were you next, Lydia?
Okay, just a minute. Right. Well, I've been sort of working on two at the same time. The first one I've done the background, but so you know I used the masking fluid.
Yeah.
I've done the background. Oh, just a minute. It's not. I'll turn this round. Right. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm plugged in too. Right, so you can't see much on there. That's just,
but we can see what it's going to be.
Gorgeous.
There goes.
well, that's going to be my very controlled one, and then I've done a sort of a looser one here,
Lovely.
Nice, I like this.
which is not really my style. I'm not very good at loose.
But Lydia, how are you
very
feeling about that
controlled.
one though?
I quite like it, actually.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's lovely.
Do you know
Well,
what, Eileen? Rita, Eileen, to take everyone outside their comfort zone, we should do a session on the leaving the space.
Oh,
You know,
just do this drawing the spaces, not the object.
Yeah.
No, or do you know when we did the painting where we just left loads of space, vignetting?
Vignetting
Oh, you
around
said
the
about
edges.
vignette before.
I find that really hard to do, but that's the kind of thing that it's changing that control. It's taking that control away, and it was quite liberating doing it because it was not my style. It's not my style of painting, as you can see, but yeah, it was a really challenging one to do.
Vignetting's good.
Let's
I
see what
find all painting challenging.
so Francis.
Oh, rising to it.
I can see Eileen's looking lovely. Rita, can I see yours, please?
yes.
Yes, you can.
Let me pin you up. Ready?
You can see it from a distance, okay? Because that's the best way to see it. Oh, it's stuck to my box. Stuck to my box.
Oh,
I can't see where I am.
I can
It
see
really
where you are.
isn't. It
The
really
picture
isn't good.
is-
Wait a minute. Where am I? So I can see. Oh, there. So from a real distance, you can see that there could be puppies. Now look at it, and it gets closer.
Yeah, from a distance.
When you're
No,
back
see-
for it, it works really well.
But,
And it is quite
when
a
we
wild
see
picture.
again, it'll be absolutely, they're
Mhm.
lovely.
So it is quite a wild picture. And my
Yeah.
other one, I've just got the masking tape on. So you might end up with two pictures because I'm not as good as Lydia and June who managed to finish it. So this is the other one. Do you like that one?
That's excellent.
It's got masking fluid here, and there's a little faint drawing. You
I
may
shall
get
see-
finished though.
Oh, you mind? So when you see the finished one, you'll see how wonderful it is.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
showing it. Hold it up.
Let me pin me up.
See, that's coming along really nice. Hold it up again.
No, but I can't. I've got to pin me up to see where I've got it in the right spot. Right. Mute.
Fringe is good, Kathleen.
In video, and then I can see on there.
Right, okay.
Oh, that looks lovely. Oh, I love the leaves.
Well, the leaves are coming, and they're not going to be the right colours or anything. But that's
But
what I've
don't
been
do too
working
much
on.
more to them. If you're doing anything, don't colour them all in or anything. Just put a stroke or something on them.
Well,
It's
that
about
one, right, the one over to the left. This side. Okay, this side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't know whether I mirror or what doing now. That needs something doing with it.
Oh, I quite like
The
that
ones
one.
on the right are okay.
Looks a
And
bit
you can see the finished effect.
excellent.
Lovely.
So
Yeah.
we've all had fun today, stretching
I
ourselves.
couldn't do any more
France-
now because I was getting to the point where it was annoying me, like I said.
Francis.
Means you've seen choice again, Eileen.
Oh, look at Francis's. Let me
Oh,
pin
Francis.
you in.
Hang on, let me pin that one.
Oh, that's
Hang on,
pretty,
I've got to-
Francis.
Oh, it's
Tell me how
beautiful.
to
I
unpin.
love the fern leaves. They're fabulous.
Francis.
But that's
No.
my second one. My first one, I did something.
The second one.
I did something completely different. Like you've seen this
sunflower.
one.
Ah, is that the one you've just done?
Yes.
That's
Well,
impressive.
you just did the sunflower today as well.
Wow.
Yes.
You're just super quick.
This one I did with palette knives and it's acrylic.
Ah.
So
It's
that's-
different completely.
Yeah.
I just have no
Lots
idea.
of
Hang on.
texture.
If I do that, it's better.
Very good. I loved, I think, was it white? On your, go back to your poppies, Francis.
Yeah,
Is there white or just glistening on one of your poppies? In the
It's,
front middle one,
hang on a
was that
moment.
just where you had masking tape, a masking fluid?
No, I cheated.
You put white over afterwards?
I've put, if I go in close, you can just see I've put 2 dots of yellow.
Oh, there's 2 dots of yellow in the
very
middle, but the bottom, oh yeah, show me,
Oh,
point
no,
your
that's
finger.
just different colour. That's just different colour.
Yeah,
I
that's
put different.
Nice. That's the bit that I thought worked
colour.
really nice.
Yeah.
The yellow
Yeah.
dots are clever too. They bring it out. Fab.
You did all that. Oh, super quick.
And then how's Eileen's going? Eileen, are you still working on it?
I'm
She
still
is.
working. You can just have a little look on there.
Oh, you're
Aw,
recording.
that's very
Eileen.
pretty.
Hang on.
Eileen did a vase and everything.
Eileen, phone again. Pin
Yeah.
video.
Beautiful.
Oh, see, your leaves are lovely.
But they were very quick, though.
They were very quick, and I've got to work
Years
at
to
that.
learn
It's
that,
been-
and it's actually so good to be able to do them.
But
Yeah.
Kathleen, if you look at them, what's Eileen done? Oh, I'm sounding like a teacher now.
No, I can
sorry.
see what Eileen's done, and I was
It's not the
listening.
same over it. Make sure you change the colour, change the tone, change,
Yeah, but I was listening to all that and watching it, but I will, in the
Yeah.
privacy of my own time.
You will. It's like you did your canal, came along really nicely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
overdid it and it spoiled it. Not
and
spoiled
learnt
it.
loads.
Didn't spoil it.
Anyway, well done.
Yeah, that's nice.
Oh, that was nice. Another good week.
Very good.
Indeed. And we'll keep sharing our pictures. And Francis delightfully is going to, thank you very much again, Eileen. That was fabulous.
Yes,
Again.
that's lovely.
Look at
Eileen.
her lovely studio. Look at Eileen's studio. I haven't
It's
had time to notice that with all the learning I've been doing.
Well, I was going to take you through different design things, but it was fun just to remind me of all the flower cards I've got.
They're your inspiration, are they, when you're painting?
Sometimes. They remind me of different things. They're all different styles, which is what I like.
But on the other side of the door, they're your paintings.
Yeah, on that
Yeah.
side. On that
Yeah,
side.
it looks lovely. And then Francis is going to be thinking hairy animals or animals of characterful animals next week.
No,
Character.
I'm doing cats.
Oh, it's cats. Okay.
So we can change them to be character animals if you like. But I'm going to do cats. It's taking
Okay.
me outside my comfort zone, I have to tell you. So that's all right. I'll work on it.
Brilliant.
That's good, Francis.
I don't think I've ever painted a cat. Well, since I was a kid, probably.
Who's that? Lydia?
Rita.
Rita talking. Eileen painted Diplo for etc.
Yeah.
Everyone have a lovely, lovely week and enjoy the sunshine and the few
It's
showers that are going to
lovely.
water our grass.
And look forward to seeing them all on Facebook. See you soon. Take care.
See you
Bye,
soon.
everyone.
Bye.
I'm leaving on one.